Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
All right, thanks for those WhatsApp voice notes that you've sent through from the first hour of the show. So today for Municipal Watch, we're focusing on the role of the municipal manager. And in many instances, of course, this is where things often go wrong. The municipal manager is supposed to be the chief accounting officer of municipalities. And this is where we see communities often protesting and raising concerns around some of the behaviors of their municipal managers. In fact, also going as far as to demand for resignations in some instances because they believe that these individuals are engineering the procurement within municipalities, and it thus ends up going to friends, going to relatives, going to acquaintances, and service delivery is not always at the level that it should be. So this is a role that comes under a lot of attention and scrutiny, especially from residents. Mielani Holeni is the Chief Group Advisor at inAlso Consulting. He's also a local government revenue and governance expert. Joins us on the line this morning. Mielani, good morning to you. Thanks for your time as always.
Good morning, Kathy, and good morning to the listeners.
Look, I suppose more broadly I've spoken about why the role of the municipal manager is so important, but when it comes to understanding the administrative functions that fall within the ambit of this individual, perhaps give us a breakdown of why their position is so important and also why it's so powerful.
So, as you've correctly introduced, Kathy, the municipal manager is essentially the accounting officer, and not to be confused with the fact that, there's accounting and there's finance, within the municipality. But the role of a municipal manager is to be accountable for everything that happens within the administration of a municipality. Of course, those powers are delegated to them through council so that they can be able to discharge all of those responsibilities that they are given. Firstly, as the accounting officer, it means that they are similar to a chief executive officer in a private company or a managing director in a private company, which means essentially everything that rises and falls within a municipality, they have to give an account. And who do they account to? They have to account to council. They have to obviously account, to the leadership, which is through council or through the speaker or even the political heads that have been appointed, as well as the executive mayor. So they sit with the administrative powers to be able to sign off, to be able to run processes, because the political side are not involved in the administration side. So they have to deal with every aspect of the financial side in terms of delegations as well, technical side in terms of delegating responsibilities, and they have to manage the performance of that municipality and have to manage the service delivery imperatives within the municipality, and anything that perhaps could be legal and is legal, their responsibility is to oversee all of those functions within the municipality. So it becomes a crucial role because if anyone or anything comes to a municipality and they want the responsible person, the municipal manager is ultimately the responsible, accountable officer that must be able to stand for all the matters that come through within a municipality. That's in an overview sense.
When we look at the relationship of the municipal manager and mayor, are there areas in which their roles and their responsibilities overlap? And the reason I ask that question is that often one gets the sense that there's a very blurred line between what the mayor in municipalities is accountable for and what the municipal manager is accountable for. And I don't know whether that's a result of the politicization of local government, and it's become that way, even though it shouldn't be that way.
I think let's deal with the perception first that there could be the blurring of lines between the executive mayor in an executive mayorship system, as well as a municipal manager or a city manager for that matter, if it's in a city. The reality is that the executive mayor sits there as the executive authority, or at least the one that is the political head for the municipality, and would be leading an executive team of municipal mayoral committee members, and sits there as a vanguard of all of the legislation that would be taking place within, or at least is discharged within a municipality, but from an oversight point of view. And I think it's important that, we emphasize the fact of oversight, and oversight for that matter with the responsibility of ensuring that the administration does what the legislation requires of them, discharges what the policies of the municipality have been put forward to achieve, ensures that the strategy, the IDP, is also implemented, the SDPIP, which is the service delivery implementation budget plan, is also implemented. So the executive mayor, as well as the MMC, so the members of the mayoral committee, are the ones that are playing a role of ensuring. However, the municipal manager accounts, plays the role of accounting for all of those. So the executive mayor, in essence, receives the delegations from council, and those delegations would then, according to what is specifically for administration, are fully delegated to the municipal manager. So giving you an example, which is a contentious one, is that the executive mayor does not sign off on anything that has to do with supply chain management, for instance. They would not have to sign off on internal matters, in terms of, annual financial statements, and so on. So the executive mayor and the municipal manager essentially have different roles. So the reality, after the perception, is that the reality is that they perform two different functions. The executive mayor, when it comes to council, obviously stands there as the party that says, I have held the municipal manager accountable. I have ensured that they discharge their responsibilities, and they also have to also give an oversight view that supports or disputes the fact that the administration is working in a way that is following the precepts, is following all of the policies within the municipality. So they perform different roles. The reality of some of the places is that because of the word executive mayor, some of the executive mayors, perhaps there may be a temptation to want to use that executive title to be able to give instructions in terms of the administration. And that would be contravening legislation.
We're going to continue this conversation with Mielani Holeni in a moment.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
We continue the conversation on The Talking Point. You're listening to Municipal Watch, and today we're focusing on the role of the municipal manager. Mielani, before we went to break, I asked you about the role of the mayor and the municipal manager, and why we often seem to have this picture of a conflation of roles. And as you've clarified, that legally there is no confusion about the role of a municipal manager, the powers that this individual has versus the role of the mayor. Why do you think that over the years there is this sense that there's no clear accountability? Often when you go to municipalities, you have either the mayor blaming the municipal manager blaming the mayor, especially instances where there have been political fallouts and political changes. And how can we, as residents of municipalities, better fine-tune our senses so that we know when individuals are actually trying to escape taking accountability for whatever question of the day they might be asked?
So, in reality, it is quite complex in a sense that looking at what the executive mayor has to ensure as the vanguard, and I'll continue to use this term, as the vanguard of the legislation, and to ensure that the administration functions as it should. On the other side, the municipal manager having to account. So in other words, the municipal manager must be the one who ensures that the IDP is drafted. The executive mayor, as well as the committee, the mayoral committee, all the way up to council, are the ones that will ensure that it is approved. So in this case, if you look at the fact that the conflicts that may come through between the executive mayor, or the perception that there is a conflict in some cases, is the fact that when service delivery is supposed to take place, it doesn't take place within the executive mayor's office or the mayoral committee. It takes place within the administrative side. So really, everything that has to do with service delivery lies on the shoulders of the municipal manager. And the other issue that perhaps is conflating the matter is the fact that if the executive mayor, as well as the mayoral committee, does not hold the municipal manager to account via perhaps some kind of softening of attitude, or perhaps relations that are perhaps sometimes a bit too close for comfort, and are not looking at the broader picture of the municipality, you start to have those gaps where perhaps the municipal manager may feel that they can get away with some of the things, or some of the officials may get away with some of the things because they have had a conversation with the higher authorities, so to say. So in those cases, I think, which perhaps you and I may not always know what goes on behind the closed doors, but when service delivery breaks down, the first person to look at should be and must be the municipal manager. The accountability for a pipe having burst, because the municipal manager must be able to then hold the technical manager accountable, the technical manager, the engineers, and so on and so forth. So the system of accountability is one that at times is not managed tightly. It is loosely arranged in a sense that it becomes a conversation in the corridor, or it becomes a telephone. But I think what we should be having more and more is to systematize, as well as make sure that whatever those imperatives, whatever those tasks that must be performed, and of course things do go wrong, and when they go wrong, that is when as well the accountability aspect comes in, where one does not deflect the responsibility to take that action. So in this case, the management and accountability system, I think, is one that ought to be tightened, so that it also becomes part of the performance management regime within a municipality, such that there are no gray areas. If you are supposed to be delivering 5 million kiloliters or megaliters of water per month, that should be what is put down as part of the performance regime. And if that doesn't happen, okay, there could have been a burst pipe. What was done with regards to the burst pipe? Are the maintenance plans in place? So I think, without going into the nitty-gritties, the issue of accountability is one that must always be clear. It must be codified, and that is the default position that an executive mayor or an MMC should be able to invoke all the time when having conversations in the meetings, where they're in the committees, perhaps, where they are meeting with the respective officials that they are looking after in terms of their MMC position, as well as where there's mayoral committee, because that is another point of accounting where the mayoral committee sits and considers different resolutions from the administration and makes determinations from there on. So the issue of, if I just summarize the matter, is the accountability system must be clear, it must be measurable, it must also be codified, and even automated to the extent to which there are no blurring of lines between what they must discharge as their responsibilities.
This individual is supposed to be able to act independently, carrying out their financial and fiduciary duties within a municipality. Why is it that so often when it comes to changes at local government, especially where you have a change in mayor, a change in political party administration, the position that is often targeted is that of municipal manager? Because very soon, then a new mayor comes in. Before you know it, the old municipal manager is being kicked out. Surely that should be a position that is exempt from the political machinations.
And in legislation, it is exempt and should be protected in that particular, because those functions of a municipal manager, and I'll give an example in terms of what the signature of a municipal manager is worth within that municipality.
Okay,
It is essentially.
Mielani, let me pause you there. Before you get fully into it, I'll give you a chance to continue on the other side of the latest news headlines. You're listening to Municipal Watch. Today we're focusing on the role of the municipal manager, understanding why this role is so important. I'm already seeing some of the feedback that you've already started contributing to the show on this issue of municipal managers. Please engage, get involved, ask questions where you need clarity, because ultimately, when we talk about accountability at local government, we need to know whose door exactly should we be knocking on, and for what? What is the legislative duty that is imposed or that is expected of these individuals? So I'll take your calls, 086 000 2032. For now, it's time for the latest headlines.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Mielani Holeni is Chief Group Advisor at inAlso Consulting. He's a local government and revenue expert. Today we're focusing on the role of municipal managers. So, Mielani, before we went to news, I was asking why this position of municipal manager is often the one under target, especially where there's a change in administration, a change in political parties that are governing in a particular municipality. Hello, Mielani.
Hi, Kathy. The line was just a little bit faint.
No, that's fine.
So continuing on where we ended, to give a concrete sort of example, is that the signature of a municipal manager is essentially worth the entire budget of that particular municipality, if I put it in those terms. So in other words, when the deliberations for the budgets, to put the budget in place, to draft the budgets, the chief financial officer, to follow the public participation processes, all the way to the point where it is presented, at council and adopted. It means that responsibility to spend all of that money lies with the municipal manager solely within that particular municipality. So you will appreciate, in terms of, if you measure the role of a municipal manager financially, that it's worth the entire budget of that municipality. Of course, there'll be operational expenses like salaries that must just, happen. But there are other, the purchasing power of a municipality lies, with the signature of the municipal manager, by and large, depending on how the delegation system has been crafted. So this particular position is one that whoever comes in you need to have a municipal manager who has the best interest of the municipality at heart. And oftentimes, those municipal managers that have the best interest of the municipality at heart may not always be favored, because perhaps they are seen to be very strict, they are seen to be following the law to the letter, they are seen to be driving imperatives, the way that the SDPIP must be discharged, and so on and so forth. So there perhaps is no room to influence them any other way. Okay, so that is one scenario. The other scenario is that the new executive mayor who comes in obviously may have seen cases where the accountability may not have been followed to the letter, and wants to correct that particular, whether it's a mishap or misdemeanors, and in that category, is then looking at how they then challenge the municipal manager, either to rectify whatever the issues are that may have been picked up, or if failing which, you find that there's issues that starts to get the municipal manager uncomfortable. So in both cases, where the executive mayor comes in and the municipal manager is found perhaps wanting, or the other way around, where the municipal manager is doing their best to discharge their responsibilities, and the new team that comes in perhaps has whatever levels of discomfort that they would have. So it is essentially the role of a municipal manager is affected by conflict of one form or the other, whether it's a trust deficiency, whether it's dealing with misdemeanors that they may have committed or rumored to have committed, and so on. So it becomes essentially that position that says, if perhaps there's someone who can discharge the mandate in this particular way, this one does not fit the purpose, perhaps, for whatever reason. So it always falls, prey to those issues which are conflict, which are human in nature, as well as political in approach, and often would then be ones that would precipitate a municipal manager being dislodged, or in this case, a municipal manager fighting for their existence because they are doing the right things, and they are perhaps not malleable or pliable to whatever circumstances that may be brought upon them. And I think those are the dynamics that perhaps some of the municipal managers can at least relate, or some of the executive mayors can also relate, in terms of why would they come into office, and the first thing is that a municipal manager has to now be standing on their toes now, and so on.
Mealani, the last question I'm going to ask, because I do have quite a lot of questions that are coming through from our listeners who also want to contribute to this conversation, is when it comes then to procurement. When you look at the service delivery protests that happen in different parts of the country, all too often the municipal manager is accused of giving contracts, of giving tenders to their families, to their relatives, to their associates. We know of municipal managers who, drive the fanciest cars, live in the most expensive areas, that have multiple business interests, even though those businesses may not be in their names. How does that situation arise? So how is it possible that things like that are able to happen systemically?
The role then of an executive mayor, as well as the members of the mayoral committee, and let me also include the Section 80 committees, which are the oversight committees, ought to be putting and implementing the policies of vetting. And I use the word vetting because that is essentially what it is, to discover what the officials, especially the ones that at the level of the municipal manager, if we focus on that one, what their lifestyle looks like, what their association, who they associate with, who their relatives are, who they are spending more time with. So there needs to be a system which is always put in place as part of their employment to be given a 5-year contract. That must always be done. And even if they are retained or it's renewed or they have to reapply again, the lifestyle audits as well as the vetting should always be undertaken. And I think that is an area which is neglected, because if that is not carried out,
Mielani? All right, it looks like we've
vetting has to go through.
Mielani, we seem to be having a bit of an issue with the connection, but it sounds like you're back up. Please repeat that answer again.
So I was on the point where I was saying the vetting of municipal managers, and I will exclusively make it about municipal managers since we are discussing on their roles and responsibilities. They must be vetted as part of them being given contracts or employed within the municipalities, where the executive, in terms of the executive mayor, the members of the mayoral committee, the municipal public accounts committee, the Section 80 oversight committees, they ought to be making sure that all of this is done and put on file so that you understand the balance sheet of that municipal manager, their associations, their family, the friendships, the areas where they have influence, and so on, so that we always can then measure how they are being responsible with the use of the public funds that they are entrusted with. So in most cases, you will find that the vetting is not done properly, or the lifestyle audits are not conducted, or they are not revisited to check, how the changes are taking place, much like on an annual basis where a bank requests, your annual financials, where they have to check if you have facilities with them, how those facilities you will be able to support the expenditure or the income and so on. So this is what should be done with regards to municipal managers. So wherever there are that oversight or lack of discharging the oversight role, you will find that those conditions are favorable for some of the municipal managers, perhaps taking and extending they are overextending, for that matter, their reach in terms of managing public funds, and maybe perhaps even giving favors to the same political leaders that are supposed to be playing an oversight role upon them, thereby perhaps keeping a blind eye and so on. So the issue here lies with the vetting. It lies with the compilation of the lifestyle audits, and those being kept up to date, so that it becomes part and parcel of how the municipal manager is kept accountable.
I think the one thing that's clear, Mielani, is that corruption that takes place at local government then takes place with the knowledge of a whole range of actors within the system, because how you've described it and the accountability mechanisms that are supposed to be put in place, it can't be that one individual is corrupt on their own and everybody else doesn't know. They certainly then has to be a chain. There has to be consensus and agreement amongst certain individuals of what will happen, because that is how then they protect each other, especially where we are talking about wrongdoing. I want to play these two voice notes for you on the issue of municipal managers, and then I'm also going to take the contributions from our listeners who are calling on the line.
Hi, Kathy. As your guest correctly said, that the signature of the municipal manager is worth the entire budget of the municipality. Now, the politicians know that. That is why they will use the municipal manager to be on their side, so that the municipal manager can assist them to loot the municipality budget. It's anonymous in KZN.
Morning, Kathy. Let's not forget that the 2021 Corruption Watch report actually stated that the most corrupt government officials in this country are municipal managers, followed by HODs of departments. So the most corrupt public sector officials are municipal managers. They're easily corruptible and they are corrupt individuals. We must never forget that in this equation.
Sure. Thanks for those WhatsApp voice notes. Koti in Polokwane, good morning.
Hi, Kathy, how are you?
Well, thank you.
I'm okay, ma'am. Yes, Melanie, I first have two questions for you. Maybe this can guide us in terms of the legislations to follow. What is the municipality? Who is the municipality? Because I can say all legislations, even the government legislations, there is no way where our legislations are encompassing the values, morals, and the customs in them. Hence, you'll find that even the mayors, they're just misbehaving, intimidating the municipal managers. And those who are the owners or those who are the municipality, they don't have access to echo their dissatisfaction with the mayors and all that. And now that it has been taken that the political party must deploy the mayors in the company that does not belong to them. Because the municipality, as I know, is a public entity. So as a result, things or legislations have been turned around where you'll even find that the municipal mayor is dancing with the young girls, naked young girls, while he's representing the community. And no one is holding him accountable. Taking young children to shebis and they'll dance naked for him or for her, which is wrong. So we start with morals first. That is what will guide us to have the good municipality under a certain governance.
Okay, Koti,
Yes.
thanks for that contribution. I'll give Melanie an opportunity to respond shortly. Mike, you're out in Middleburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Kate and your guest. Thanks for taking my call. Kate, the good working relationship between the executive mayor and the accounting officer is sacrosanct for good and clean governance. And their relationship must be guided by legislation and nothing else. They must protect each other, from political interference. If they work together in that manner, it will be very difficult for political interference, to take place. And the municipal manager, as the head of administration, reports to the mayor. He cannot take instruction outside the executive mayor. What collapses institutions, especially municipalities, is because your RECs and your PECs have audacity to instruct the mayor. I mean, not the mayor, the municipal manager. If your municipal manager is strong and he knows that he accounts to you, is informed by legislation, he will tell you, he will defy those unlawful instructions. I used to tell my municipal manager that when they issue instructions to you, just refer them to me, and then I will tell them where to get off. I will simply defy unlawful instructions, and I can tell you that is why good and clean governance, was our culture.
Mike, I'm listening to you talk about how the mayor and the municipal manager should protect each other, and they should both be able to guard against political interference. And yet, what we often see with corrupt municipalities is that the interference is coming from the mayor. So how would it work? I mean, when we look at the realities that municipalities in this country are faced with, because even where you do have municipal managers that want to do the right thing, often they're up against the odds and they end up doing what they know is wrong because they're trying to protect their jobs, trying to protect their families. So practically, how do we make this a reality?
You see, the problem comes, Katie, when the mayor opens himself up for unlawful instruction from REC and PEC. The mayor must be guided by legislation. The mayor must not be afraid to say, comrades, yes, I hear you, but this is what the legislation says, and I am not going to deviate from legislation. If you put your foot down, I'm telling you, Katie, the municipal manager will do his work very well. He will know that you protect him. But if, as the mayor, you open yourself, and of course it's not easy, Katie, because when you defy instructions, unlawful instructions from the RT and PEC, you know that your day is coming. You are going to be axed, but you must stand your ground because your integrity and reputation matters most than anything.
Thanks for that insight, Mike. Mielani, let me give you a chance to respond to the questions that our listeners have posed.
Yeah, the question of who is the municipality, I think in its broadest sense, whoever has a role to play within the municipality and they are a citizen within that jurisdiction or geography of the municipality, essentially constitute the whole municipality. Let me break it down in this way. There are elected members within the municipality, of which would have been elected, through the whatever the elections that would have taken place. There are proportional representative members, there are ward, councillors that would come in, and those would eventually form part of the executive committee of the municipality, and from there the speakers and so on and so forth. But the reality is that the officials form a critical part of the municipality. Even more critical are the citizens that reside within that particular municipality, or in some way or form pay their rates within that municipality, or are residing within the geography. So they form a critical part of that municipality. Of course, to organize the municipality is that there is a municipal council, which is put up as the highest authority that should be determining all of, or at least noting or taking resolutions, ensuring that there's accountability, even on the executive mayor themselves. And the issue, I think, of values become a critical one, because some of the ways that values were being infused into public service, if we look at the Batupilu principles, for instance, they were trying to at least look at how a government institution would be handling its customers. And you can take it as broad as you can, because a customer in this case can be a young man, can be a young woman, can be an old lady, can be an old man, can be anyone who at least has dealings within that particular municipality. And then comes the issue of ethical leadership, and I think that is something which how do you the ethics are things that leaders must subscribe to and have their own moral compass. And that is, I think, an area which at this stage it's not easy to legislate for morality. However, it's something that all of us understand as a society, that the values of the institutions must drive how we carry ourselves and discharge our responsibilities. I think the points by Dr. Mike echoes how the relationship between the executive mayor and the municipal manager should be, because all of them have a key role to play. One, the executive mayor as the vanguard, who's standing there at the gate and making sure that they gatekeep anything and anyone who wants to come and give other instructions other than what is legislated, and the municipal manager to implement all of the plans, the IDPs, the SDPIPs, the budget, and all of those legislations that bind them, as well as the policies, the bylaws, and so on. So in this case, it means that there should be a mutually beneficial partnership, or at least a one that benefits the municipality and its citizens broadly.
All right. Lisiba, you're out in Khobukwani. Good morning.
Good morning, Sis Katie, and good morning to your guest, Moelane. And that's what it is. Katie, let me echo the sentiments of Comrade Mike from Middelburg. I can tell you more than 80% of our municipal managers, they are professionals, they are ethics, but there's only one challenge. Some of the municipal managers, they know even before they get appointed that they will be appointed at a particular municipality as the manager. This is an instruction from a political structure, either at the provincial or at the regional level. When you go there, you already know that your appointment is not based on your performance during the interview. It's extended to be a political deployment. Once you get there, you will always get instruction from the executive mayor or the mayor, knowing very well there is legislation that are controlling you and to have to account to institution. And if you don't do that, like the Mike Comrade might have said, you will suffer the consequence that Comrade Mike suffered because he stood the ground, he refused to take illegal instruction, eventually get out of the office. So the only way out is the move that makes sure that these people are accountable personally, financially, municipal managers for any wrongdoing, for any decision that has been taken, either awarding of tender, you interfere with the supply chain, or the appointment of the executive. Then you account financially yourself in terms of the Auditor General. They will start to change. But for now, as been said, they even get instruction, not from the executive mayor, from the regional secretary of a particular party that is control of a political space. Nowadays, they even extended to directors and senior managers. You receive call, this is what you should do in terms of appointment, this is what you should do in terms of the awarding of tenders. And those people that get appointed in such, they don't perform their duties because they know they have to give a certain shares to those individuals or either to those political parties. Then the whole service delivery gets compromised.
Sure. Lisiba, thanks for that explanation, because I think you have highlighted so well just what a web it can be. Mielani, the system is supposed to have checks and balances, but when you listen to Lisiba's example, it's very easy to see why those are not effective. So how do we get ourselves out of this situation then as we wrap up?
I think the independence of the committees within the municipality is very, very important. So the system that has always been implemented at national, where the head of scoper is coming from a different, party as a way of providing oversight, is one that should also be implemented within the municipality in terms of the MPEC structure. The other committees as well, there must also be, wherever you have the MMC from the one political party, you should be having a chairperson of the oversight committee from a different political party. And that is how the checks and balances, should work. The issue of independence, the issue of follow through, the issue of enforcing legislation, because that is all that the elected lead office bearers are supposed to be doing. They are elected to come and implement and make those policies a reality under whatever circumstances that they could or may face.
Mielani Holeni, we'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you so much for your contribution to the conversation. Thank you to all of you as our listeners for also being part of the conversation. Yeah, we still have quite a number of voice notes that we weren't able to get to. But the reality is, if you have different individuals standing up to do the right thing, enough of them standing up to do the right thing can actually turn the tide against corruption. It's when multiple players are open to being co-opted, right, into the web of corruption that we see the levels and the cycles of corruption that we have that exist sometimes at local government. All right, we'll take your latest news headlines and we continue the show on the other side of this.